How's it going, guys? I take the stairs because I choose to understand differences rather than separating them.
I take the stairs because healthy communication is the soil where growth takes root.
I take the stairs because in a world that can often feel bleak, I'd like to remind people that there's always hope, and I never want them to feel alone on their journey.
I take the stairs because shortcuts don't build strength. Every step is a choice to grow, be patient, and rise.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of We Take the Stairs. I'm Rachel,
I'm Junior.
I'm Z.
and you'll notice if you're watching online, but if you're not watching online, Liz isn't with us this week, unfortunately, but she'll be back next week. Today, we're joined by Cole from Echo Studios, and he is going to assist us with today's topic, which is men and communication. In today's episode, we will be focusing on men and communication. And while we're going to dive in and try to tackle this topic and better understand the way men communicate, both silently and not so silently, this is an area that we can all use some practice. We have, as a species, always had division in our communication, but in the most recent years, it has become something of a lost art. As with most things, the Bible points us towards the right way, but we seem to be so far from this instruction that we feel justified in belittling, openly destroying and criticizing, and even to an extreme, taking the life of someone who isn't in line with our way of thinking. I'm sorry, but this isn't the way. Effective communication involves being quick to listen and slow to speak, James 1:19, using words to build others up rather than to tear them down, Ephesians 4:29, and speaking with grace and truth, Colossians 4:6. Why has this become so difficult for us to do? What if we all just put down our proverbial swords and looked at each other, understanding that we all come to the table with our own life experiences, which have shaped our viewpoints, and allow for them to soften one another and learn instead of deny and shame? Let's see what we can find.
Let's see.
Yeah, let's see.
We would love to hear from Cole first.
Oh, Cole, all right.
Yeah, let's get a little dive into who he is and
Absolutely.
yeah.
And thank you for welcoming us in this beautiful space.
Yeah, thank you.
And for
Round
joining
of
us today.
applause.
Get a round of applause.
We're on the
Okay.
spot.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great intro, by the way.
Thank you.
About who I am. Okay, so my name is Cole Spicer. I'm 24 years old. I graduated college last year from the University of Florida. I moved back here and I started the studio. I am a follower of God. I think it's a big part of this. And I love what the show's about. And when they asked me to hop in, it was a no-brainer. And today's topic, I think there's a little bit I could add to it. And I honestly want to hear what you guys think too. But yeah, thank you for having me in.
Thanks for being
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for tuning in. Actually, I'm going to start today because this is a topic that I have had to really work hard to understand, being a mom of two boys. I've learned quite a bit, and I know I have so much more to learn because I've realized that men and women really do think and communicate very differently. I really gave some thought. I actually woke up at 3 a.m. And I really gave some thought to what I wanted to say in the beginning, which I don't normally do. But today I'd really like to try to talk about the different types of communication that I've noticed. And one of those styles of communication actually with men is silence. Men communicate, at least the men in my life, a lot in their silences. And as a woman, I can say that most of the silences that I have are usually frustration or I'm mad or I'm waiting for something to change, but very little is, me communicating silently. It's just sort of me like stewing or seething or being upset. But I have found that especially since my boys have gotten a little bit older and society has sort of started to also shape them, not just my words, or the words of God, but just society and people in general, or even social media. We touched upon that in some of the recent episodes. I've noticed that there's a lot of silent communication that my boys are doing, and I find it just worrisome because I feel like sometimes when they're silent, that means that they're repressing the answer. And I find that perhaps I'm guilty of setting them up for that. And that's just kind of what I was hoping we could discuss today to begin.
Yeah, I'll dive right in. Ground level, coming from a vulnerable space of actually struggling with communication for a very long time and trying to build the kingdom within my home. And recently having a postpartum wife that is its own space, a new, different space, even though we're on our fourth child. But I just want to approach this from the ground level with the foundation of the biblical truth of communication.
Okay.
And not quitting at the first sign of discomfort. Because as men, communicating verbally can be super uncomfortable. Sometimes. Men could have an entire conversation with a head nod. I'm sure we could go to the gym, Junior, and
Yeah,
work
that's a
out
full
for an hour,
conversation. Yeah.
and we probably, Cole as well, probably don't have to say much.
Yeah.
And we approach things for a purpose, with a purpose to do what we came to do and step away. Women are a lot different. But we have to grow to be empathetic to a lot of these things. Again, from a personal space, I could speak to some of the inner work that I've had to do to maneuver in this space as trying to be a kingdom husband and a kingdom father to 2 boys and 2 girls, and trying to be the best example at home that I could be, because I know that it affects how my children will go out into the world and how my wife will embrace me. A lot of breathing and reflecting instead of reacting. But yeah, in a world that we're told to man up, and we usually react in anger or sarcasm, realistically. I think we just have to sometimes just take a step back and pick up the word and look at what the biblical truth is behind this.
That encompasses all the reasons why you find most men a lot more silent than anything else, because of those points that you brought up. We can be reactive. We can be reactive, sarcastic, and we know that there's a large sense in anything we say will be used against us in the court of law.
Yeah.
So it's a landmine.
So it's one of those things where we either attribute to a bigger argument or allow the argument to be on one side and we not participate. So the non-participation is our sense of saying, hey, I choose not to be reactive. I know whatever I say will ultimately be wrong. So the best way to sort this out is to not say anything. So much so that as we grow up, even as a child, those are attributes that we learn from our father, if the father is in the household, and or uncles. So as we grow up, even in our adolescence years, we understand that communicating silently is probably the best method for peace. So even as we interact with friends, moms, sisters, cousins, or whatever, we find a beautiful sense of like,
No, you're right,
Peace.
actually.
yeah.
I'm guilty of that in my own home, actually. I've been, I have a very good relationship with both of my sons. I've worked really hard for it. And I realize in researching in these past few months that I'm guilty of a lot of these things. And I'm really frustrated with myself because I've worked so hard to be a mom of boys and I love my son so much. But sometimes I'm in my own, like, I'm going to say selfish space. I don't mean to be selfish, but I'm not trying to understand them. And my older son will say, well, I can't win here, so I'm just not going to say anything. And I don't want to watch you cry and I don't want to hurt you, but I don't know how to say it differently.
I love that you said that, because a lot of our job is to not hurt anyone. Our
Yeah.
job is to protect and provide. So once it's evident that someone who we love is being hurt, and usually we're always a problem. 99% of the time, the men is the problem. And it's not, yeah, we do things that will hurt your feelings, but I think because we're tied up in a position where we see that we're the problem, even if it's not true,
Yeah.
we have to validate how you feel, because that's what makes you feel like a woman. But what is not understood is that you're taking away what makes us feel like a man.
That's
You know,
Yeah.
we're a problem. We're not protecting. We're not providing. And usually that's the meat of the conversation when you're arguing with a guy, right? It's like, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do this. So the best thing that we can do is to shut our mouths.
Cole,
Yeah.
you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, going like on a different perspective, I do understand like the silence, the communicating in silence. I think as like getting older and like I'll find myself like I live with roommates and all of us are like very like we'll go days without talking. And it's really I think a lot of it comes too from like having a lot on your mind and you just better to keep it to yourself because at this stage in my life, at least with everyone that's my age, like everyone's working, everyone has different stresses. So like they all have their own problems. No one really wants to hear your problems, you know? So it's you keep it in, I think. And I'm just talking from like I'm not married or anything like that. I'm just saying like at the stage of life I'm in.
Okay.
But yeah, like there's a lot that goes into silence for sure. I think you definitely suppress your emotions when you're happy. You know when someone's happy, you know, but there's a lot that can go into silence that people overthink. And I think like a big thing is when you listen to someone, like if you will sit down and have a friend that will like generally like listen to you and you don't have to be silent, you do feel better around that person. And I can understand how it's the same with like marriage and just hearing your partner out, you know, instead of keeping it in, it solves a lot of problems. That's why like it's good like to have someone to call to talk to about stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know, I went on a couple different tangents there.
No, that's good.
No,
that's good, bro.
Excellent.
real
Very
good.
pertinent
Yeah.
information.
Just to tap in what Junior said, like truth without love and grace can be a weapon. And we know that. And it's almost like ingrained in us to just tell our truth. Just to be vulnerable again. Myself, I'm again, this is something that I really struggle with is my communication at home. I'm just to keep to myself. I hold it all in. I suppress a lot at times. And I'm working on it. I'm seeing a therapist. And my wife and I were having a discussion via text. I was at work and she's texting me, like kind of like prying, what's up? I'm just like trying to stress, like, let's just have the conversation in therapy because I don't want to say my truth and it be a weapon. I don't want to hurt her.
Yeah.
I know where she's at mentally. The king sees everything on the table. You know, I'm a chess player. So I see the entire table. I see the kids. I see the finances. And I feel it.
I think
you know?
that's a big balloon, right?
Yeah.
And when I say balloon, I mean, once you blow up the balloon, everything inside just goes all over the place. Because as a queen on the chessboard, she's also seeing everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
She's feeling
So
insecure.
she
Yes, because
herself
we do. Yeah.
that is her way of communicating.
Right.
She gotta say it.
I know.
She gotta say
The
it.
quieter you are, the more
Yeah.
insecure we get. So if she's trying to prompt you, she's seeing that you're silent and you're not opening up. So it's really a catch-22, and it's hard. If men don't
Relationships are
feel,
hard.
absolutely. But if
Yeah.
men don't feel like they can communicate, now I'm not talking about your specific situation, but if men don't feel like they can communicate, that's not good.
Cole brought up a
Yeah.
great point, though,
Yeah.
in terms of keeping everything in, but finding that one person that you can actually talk to and then start to feel extremely comfortable around them.
Yeah.
And at that point, sometimes men never shut up because of how much we have on our minds, and we get that one outlet,
Unload. Yeah.
and it's like, la, 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 la. But that is a very interesting thing in that it's hard for us as men to find that outlet, because even in our friendship group,
Yeah.
you say you have roommates and it's almost you go days without talking. How many times of your roommates do you want to go within your day to go, hey, bro, like, it's a lot on my mind. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot happening.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem, because like I live with my brother, my older brother,
Yeah.
and like I'll talk to him about business and a lot of things, and he's got his own stuff, so I can only talk so much. Where he's like, hey man, like, you know what I mean, you want to listen, but at the same time, it's like I got something going on too. But he'll listen to me. He's not shutting me down. But it's just a weird time in life, because like I guess like when you become an adult, it's the first time that you have a lot of responsibilities that you have to figure out like for yourself. And I always think like it goes back to like being a Christian, right? It's very hard to go get other people to the kingdom if you're not figured out yourself,
Yeah.
right? If you're not aligned with God, you're really gonna work the right way. And I think that's like the same, like I can imagine with like being a father. It's like you have to, in order to help your spouse, you have to make sure you're in check. You know what I mean?
100%.
Good
And that's
point.
why like having a support or like having a friend where you can kind of talk to. Like I have a business mentor, and he'll just listen to me and for an hour, and then I will, just by talking, will figure out my own problems, just because he's just sitting there. He's not even, because like, you know, when you're like someone's trying to give input to your problems, then you kind of don't want to hear it. He'll just let me like, because you know sometimes you don't want someone's advice, like, or you don't think it's right. He'll just let me talk forever, and then I'll be like, I'll like rewire and be like, wow, like I know how to solve my own
He
problems. I'm just not
validates
doing-
you. He
Exactly.
validates you, right?
And
I don't think it's a validation. I think is a lot of times we know exactly what we need to do,
Yeah.
but we're so consumed with the idea that maybe we should take this route, or maybe we should do that, or maybe we should do that, that we don't automatically hear what really is the right step to take. And that is always my motto. If I'm giving myself to someone in terms of my ears, I'm just listening.
Yeah.
My opinion sometimes would never matter, because 99% of the time you talk yourself into the right thing.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Listening is a spiritual discipline. You know? Again, back to the ground level, back to the biblical truth. It's wisdom. Proverbs 18:13 says, "Answer before listening, folly and shame." Folly is folly and shame. Answering before listening is folly and shame. So we need to really practice listening, you know, listening intentfully. You know, this is the water that God has poured in my life this year that I'm really, really trying to feed from. Listen, you know, that's my communication. I have so much to say before even hearing and understanding what someone is trying to actually tell me. People that love me, you know. My brother always tells me, bro, just shut up and listen, you know. And I need to hear these truths, you know. He's not saying it from a hurtful place. He's saying it from a loving place. So I intentionally try to listen really to what my wife is saying her needs are when she's saying these things. And I just take that quiet space to process. That is my processing space. My quiet time is my processing space where I could pray, fast, write, think of how I am going to solve the problem. Again, to protect and provide.
Yeah.
How am I gonna fix this? You know?
Yeah. Both genders have that that innate ability to want to fix something.
Yeah.
I think from I can't speak for a woman, but Rachel, maybe you could attest to this. From a female perspective, her job is to fix the emotion of the house. Not her job. Let me rephrase that. a main point of like
Comfort. That's where she's
comfort is
comfortable.
she wants to make sure that the house is good. It feels good.
Yeah.
It is good. For us, we want to make sure that the house have what it needs. And that's
Well,
that's our
I agree
MO.
with you. And I think what's interesting is my husband, who has a difficult time. I do have his permission to say. So I just wanted to say that. No, he said, use me as a guinea pig. I'm like, no. One thing I notice with my husband is that I've had to sit and learn to decipher the silences and almost learn to speak for him when we're together, not in front of others, but to ask questions, to prompt questions. And I feel like it just like his answer gets stuck right here. And he's so uncomfortable talking. And not because it's like a space where there's judgment. It's just he's not. I'm like, he can't get the words out. And so I feel like while you're a person who probably talks quite a lot, you said, and there are a lot of men who don't, women feel they can solve that. My husband says, the one thing that he does say is men like problems they can solve. And women, as a woman, I will say, I've used to, not anymore, but I used to find intriguing the unsolvable problems. And maybe emotions are maybe a lot more difficult to solve. Guys like, okay, maybe guys are more comfortable and we've got to make sure we have this amount of money, this amount of savings. It's boxes. There's this book that says men think in boxes and women are like spaghetti. Guys compartmentalize a lot easier. I cannot compartmentalize. It has been a learned behavior that I've learned since having sons and having a husband and guy friends and men in my life. I've learned to understand that. I think that emotions become problems, quote unquote problems that are not as solvable, and it becomes very uncomfortable. So emotions for women are more, you can tackle them. It's okay, let's try to do this. And women can really like dig in there. Whereas guys are like, okay, I can solve this. I could get another job, or we could cut the budget. So men are good at those things. But when it becomes a little bit more spaghetti-like or complicated, it gets more difficult.
Yeah. There are a few things that I do want to circle back on. One where Cole was saying that we want to deal with things on our own first before even getting comfortable to deal with other people's problem. And it's a part of our mechanics where we choose to also not overbear anyone with our issues and our problems or what we're going through. So silence is probably the best method. That's a part of the communication that I want to touch on, in addition to what the topic was. So from a Christian perspective, I think it is the worst thing you could do in trying to solve things on your own.
What was that?
Huh?
What was that?
I think trying to solve anything on your own is the worst thing
Gotcha,
you could
gotcha.
do, right?
Jesus said we need each other.
Cole even pointed out, as a new Christian, and I think that is exactly why a lot of new Christians turn back to the life that they've lived, is because they try to do everything on their own. It's a compact scenario that Christ has said, you cannot do this without me. Yeah. And in that partnership, I think inadvertently, Christ is saying, hey, even on this earth, you can't do it alone. Because there are things that I will solve for you. I will change in you, but you need that earthly comfort to talk about it. The Bible did say, I don't remember the exact verse and quote, and someone just look it up for me. It says, in order to be healed, you have to confess your sins one to another. You must confess your sins one to another. And that's healing. And it doesn't mean that you're going to pay for a class and you become healed. And it doesn't mean that you're going to do some breath work and you'll be healed. And it doesn't mean that an instructor is going to make, no, healing is finding a friend, a brother, a sister, and confess the things that are eating you up. That's where you find healing. So doing it by yourself is one of the hardest things that you would never conquer. You would never conquer it.
And I think that's Cole's space with his mentor, that space where he could speak truth. truth over feelings, really, because feelings, the only thing permanent is change. Feelings will change. It's 100% your feelings will change. It's the only thing permanent in life is change.
Yeah.
And that's his space to vent. His boy doesn't have to say a word, right? He doesn't have to say
Yeah.
anything. He doesn't have to put in a cent. It's almost like you're done and the processor starts processing. Oh,
Yeah.
I think I got it.
The funniest part about it is like when we talk, he'll be like, he'll just ask like simple questions like, oh, like, and why do you think you feel that way? And like the whole time I'm like, I know what you're doing, but I'm not gonna stop talking, and it only works. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I know how simple what he's doing is. Like he's like, but what do you think made you feel that way? And I'll think and I'll come up with an answer, and it's exactly right because the whole time subconsciously I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it just like works backwards. Yeah, but it's funny. I just sit there and the very few words is just like you just talk and you feel so much better.
Because you're able to confess all that
Yeah.
is eating you up. And you might not be healed for the rest of your life, but that chips away at something that you would essentially carry with you in your 30s. And then 30 years old, you're with your wife and you're like, damn, this happened 20 years ago. Why am I still working? Why am I still working through this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we need people. We definitely do need
Fellowship,
people.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
And that also goes in hand with you being a wife, right? Like as men, we need to, and I know it's a scary space for us because we hate being a problem. We need to say something. We have to. Like if you are my wife, we're working on building a kingdom.
Yeah.
We are working on ensuring that the legacy continues, and we're doing it in Christ. Therefore, you are my friend. I might not be able to tell you everything,
Yeah.
because there are certain things that you can't handle that I'm dealing with, right, as my wife. So I can't tell you everything, but I have to tell you enough.
So
Yeah.
here's the crux of the issue that as I see it. So men need a place to vent. Women need you to need them. And I guess maybe that's where we're not effectively communicating. We're just we're becoming frustrated. Women like to be necessary. They like to be needed. They like to be nurturers. But if men feel like they're stepping on a landmine with every single thing that they say, or they're worried that they may say something that upsets the woman or make the situation worse, then they cut off the communication. So therefore, what's happening, which, I mean, maybe we can all reflect for a moment and see a situation that's happened, is the woman now feels unneeded, so she's frustrated, and the guy is not able to say what he's saying, so he's frustrated, and now you have this, gap between the two of you, and you're like, one of you's on one side and you're on the other side and you're waving at each other, and that becomes starts to be a division. So if I'm hearing everyone right, what everybody needs to do maybe is just take a deep breath, listen intently. I mean, these are just all things that we're supposed to do anyway, but maybe in the heat of the moment or in the beginning of a marriage, it's easier because it's just the two of you. Then you have a child, or sometimes you just have a dog or a cat. And then there's something, even like going to the vet can become very stressful. But guys need a space, and it should be with their significant other. But if it's not, they still need to have a space to talk and
I
not
think that
stay
space.
silent.
I think that space again starts with the firm foundation of Christ.
Sure.
I think it starts with men speaking with courage, speaking with humility, being intentional about going to the bottom floor, taking your knees again, not just on the day she said I do, but praying with your wife, talking to your wife, walking with your wife. My wife and I were going at it via text message. And we're like giving each other the solutions. After I got a chance to reflect and breathe, and I'm like, the therapist recommended that we walk together. She's like, last time we sat in therapy, They assigned us to walk. When is the last time we walked? That's probably why we're here right now. We haven't walked in a while. We haven't prayed together in a while. We haven't. So it's like I have to go back to my king. And my king feeds me through his word.
Yeah.
So you have to humble yourself.
But even beyond that, to
Yeah.
Cole's point,
Right.
you talk about ground level a lot. The ground level is first, one, knowing the relationship you have with Christ, as you said,
Yeah.
right? But even beyond that, a step above that is sometimes the communication with your mom is skewed and you can't even see that.
Yeah.
A lot of times your communication with your friendships are skewed and you can't see that.
Yeah.
So you are going to walk into a relationship with that same mindset because, again, one thing that is constant is change, but one thing that is also constant is habits.
Mm.
If we are habitually in a position where this is how we communicate and we could rationalize how we communicate and we could justify how we communicate, it's not going to change. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
at the basic level, the ground level, to your point, yes, the relationship with Christ is the most important thing. And once you could work on that, that's great. But then a step above that is, how am I communicating with those that I actually love? My mom, my sisters, my cousins. When was the last time you even talked to a family member?
Yeah.
If you didn't live with your brother, maybe you guys don't have that relationship to get up and call. I'm guilty of that. If my mom doesn't text me sometimes, I completely forget. But that's because I am working.
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
I'm the breadwinner of my family, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
there's a dependency on me. So no, I don't have time to chit chat or da. But that plays a major role, right? Because that's gonna affect me when I have my wife.
I'm hunting.
And I'm out in the work. Stop texting me. Like,
Yeah.
if my mom don't, if my sister, she texted me the other day. She's like, "Yo, bro, if I don't text you, you don't. What's going on?"
Yeah.
Communication is not my thing because I feel like a lot of times it's a waste of my time. I'm doing something. I'm working. I got my thing going on.
I'm in the
To
jungle.
Cole's point, I got a lot going on. I don't need to sit and chat about it.
Right. I'm out here executing.
Right.
I'll be home soon with the bread.
Yeah.
I'll be home soon with the provisions. Because it's so important for
Well,
us to bring.
That actually makes so much sense. And if
home.
you think about it historically, men would go on these hunting and gathering trips
Yes.
and then they'd come home and the woman would make it. And I doubt that there was, I'm sure there was communication, but I doubt that there was as much communication as there is now. And even up until even during the Industrial Revolution or up until then, it was very much that way where men were out all day in the fields and farming, let's say, and women were preparing the meals, and everybody went to bed at sundown and they rose at sun up, and the son helped, the mom helped, and I'm not sure that we just have grown past that for so long, that period of time that we've learned all these great communication skills. And I think that's probably very interesting to think about, because then after that time, women started to work in factories and we had more 8 to 6s, 9 to 5s. And then people started to spend more time together. And then the need for communication was more prevalent. But still, men have that need they're distracted in their purpose.
I love that. I love that you said that.
They're distracted in their purpose, and we need to remember that.
I always like with what Junior said. It's funny, because you get very caught up in life, right? And you have to give people grace because everyone has their own things going on. And I always think what's funny is someone's birthday, right? And you'd be like, I know their birthday's on Friday. Then Friday rolls around, it's 4 p.m. and you forgot, and you text them, and then they're you have to understand, it's they have their own job and their own life. The fact that they reached out is great. And it's it's I don't care less about you. I just literally forgot. But I care to say happy birthday. You know what I mean? It's you feel bad. And then it's at least you said something. But with everyone having their own things going on, it does put an emphasis on people that will call you and just listen to you, or those are your favorite people. You know what I mean? It's the people that care about you.
Honey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that just keeps you so Like, yeah, it's just one of those things. And I think with like we all can think of a time like what Junior was saying, but if your first reaction when you go and you're stressed out about something, you got a lot going on in your mind, and you go pray and talk with God. Like we've all had it, something we can remember where you go to sleep, you wake up next day, it's figured out, you know?
Yeah.
And then you're like, that needs to be the first thing I do when I'm stressed or I got a lot on my mind. Instead of calling someone like my brother who has too much going on, go do a 10-minute walk and just pray. That's a good way to deal with your silence, because it is true that God is always listening. Sorry, I'm looking this way the whole time, but
It's all
I'm
love.
talking with you.
It's all
But
love.
yeah,
You
I
have a
don't know.
great ear.
That's just something. That's just something I'm thinking about. But yeah, like
That's a good
I
point.
think if like finding that peace that if you don't feel heard and you're keeping a lot in, like there's always God. You know what I mean? That's it just should be the first thing you do. And it's another thing with getting caught up. Sometimes you don't think about it. You know what I mean? Think to talk, like call someone else, but I don't know. It's just my
It's been
a thought.
interesting. That's a really great point, and it's been interesting as a mom of teenage boys, and I have young guys coming in and out of my house, and I'm just one of those annoying moms who actually talks to their kids' friends because I really want to hear what they have to say because they're the
It's
next
not annoying.
generation. I
Definitely not.
really like the friends of my sons, and they're fun. Guys are really fun. I mean, they're a mess and they have loud cars, and I mean, they're very opposite from me, but I find guys to be fun. And I've realized in the past few years what you're saying is really, really true. These young men, especially, because like I said, I mean, I'm now focusing on these kids that are in high school because they're coming in and out of my home, and you'll hear things, or they'll even ask me a question because a few of them know about the podcast, and they feel so happy that somebody is finally looking at it and saying, hey, you guys deserve better than to just be silenced or to sit in silence. I want to understand you. It's almost like they're looking at you like you have like three heads because no one has said this to them. So there's something missing. There's a key component because I know the women that I know want to hear the men. And the men probably want to speak to the women, but there's some disconnect. There's a piece of the puzzle that's missing. And yes, it's Christ. So how do we bridge the gap?
I think, again, just to touch on two things,
Okay.
intentionality and the choices that Junior talked about. And then you speaking on communication, there is a huge barrier now that we're going to touch on later episodes, which
Yes.
is the entertainment and the distraction that we all have now.
Correct.
Is the social media.
Mm-hmm.
Distracted on so many levels to a space where people don't feel like they don't have to use words to share their expressions,
Yeah.
I feel like in society today, like some humans prefer a double tap than a text message or acknowledgement online versus you texting them happy birthday,
Yeah.
Heard many people, oh, you didn't do a shout out or you didn't repost me or whatever, instead of, sending flowers or, hey man, happy birthday, or giving them a card.
Yeah, you're totally right.
I feel like that is
Wow.
I think that is a huge piece of that disconnect. That
So there's no personalization.
correct.
Some
There's
people would
no-
rather you, that's like funny, like just a thought, like some people would rather you post them than text them happy birthday, even though it's way more intentional.
Yeah,
than
I
reach
think
out
that's
to 'em.
more speaking to the fact that we do need communication, but we would much prefer the showcasing of communication rather than the actual
Mhm.
communication. Because then you're going to have to dive deep in, right? So if I text you and say, yo, happy birthday, it might lead to a text thread where, how was your birthday? What did you do?
Right,
What's
right.
happening?
How
Whereas
are you
if I
feeling?
post it on social media, everybody sees that we're friends and we don't have to have a conversation. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, you reposted me. So people are more interested now based on social media status with just showing that we're communicating,
Yeah.
but we're not actually doing the work.
But our society is pretty sad.
Absolutely.
Because
People are
depression
depressed
is high.
at
Yeah.
a high
Absolutely.
level. So
Absolutely. That's the reason.
We are
because
human
people are more
doings.
interested
human
in
doings
But-
instead of human beings.
absolutely.
Going off what you were saying, first off, every mom that there's very rare that moms talk when you come over, but like when you go to college and come back, you don't skip a beat and you keep talking. There's just like some of the best moms to be around, so it's not annoying.
Good.
But in the
Glad.
in the same like sense, like, do you ever have someone you will talk to and they'll ask you and they'll be like, how have you been, right? And then they'll be like, how's work? And they'll ask you another question. You almost don't even know how to answer it because it's your life, but no one's really asking you these simple questions about how it's going. You're like, good. And then they're like,
Right.
but like, is work like any like
Yeah.
new? You're like, it's fine. But they're really just being a good person asking you.
So warm.
But it's so rare that you're like, what are you
What do you
asking me?
want?
What do you
What's your
what are you
ulterior
trying to
motive
get
here?
to? But they're really it's so unfamiliar now
Yeah.
yeah.
that when someone cares, you don't have a good response because it doesn't happen that much.
If
Even
you were to
even
attach-
smiling.
If you were to attach a feeling to that, what does that feel like? I know it's uncomfortable, you said, but how does it feel?
It was awkward, but it's the craziest part is you don't identify they actually are just trying to talk to you. You're
No, but I'm
like,
saying, how do you feel though?
feel
Oh boy.
almost okay, in a like on guard a little bit.
Yeah,
Like what? Yeah, like
touched.
yeah. Well,
You
no,
don't feel touch in the
you
moment.
don't
Huh?
because you're so not used
You
to
don't
it.
feel touch in the moment. No.
But if I would have put a word to it, to me, I would say I feel like, oh, I can
No,
feel that.
yeah, you're totally right. I'm saying like the first reaction
Yeah,
though
yeah.
is like what,
Right,
and then
right,
and then it's like, oh wow, this person actually cares about me. That's big. And
It's
that's
so-
what
right,
you're
right,
saying.
It's
yeah.
so funny
Yeah.
because the moment that happens, you start to judge the person. You
Yeah.
immediately start to evaluate them. Like, who are you?
Right.
What do you
It
want?
seems fake.
What's going on? I don't
Yeah.
even know you like that.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even think we were gonna have that kind of relationship. So I'm gonna need you to back up 10 feet
Yeah,
and then let me
Yeah.
assess you a little bit.
I've been.
And then we could move a little further.
See,
been
I'm
hanging-
that person though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people have a really, honestly, I'm a take it or leave it kind of gal. I do not, most people, so now I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm not for everyone. I'm very real. I also am, sitting here, I'm a female and I have sons and I'm honestly, I started this because I want this world to be a better place for my sons.
Amen.
And all people who deserve to come together. We're not going to make it in this world. We just won't unless we help each other because that's what we're supposed to do. That's what the word is. So I think that it's extremely important to understand that. I also don't have social media. So half the stuff that you guys are talking about is lost on me. I am so
good thing.
real and I believe in a smile. I believe in taking somebody's soup when they're sick. I believe in just saying, hey, how are you? And I can't tell you the number of times that has caught people off guard. Or I've opened like the grocery, like the milk, refrigerator for a woman who was older and she didn't have the nicest reaction. And I was like, wait, what? And now that you guys are saying this, I'm putting it together. See, I'm sort of out of the loop because
Most of society is getting a smile, but you have 50 filters to pick from.
yeah.
You
I
know?
don't think society is getting any smiles. Nobody cares about no smiles.
Right.
They're just deep into the numbers and the likes.
The
Wow.
algorithm,
Yeah.
not the rhythm of God.
Wait,
but
you had something to say, Cole?
Yeah, I did. I'm trying to think. It was something that you were saying a second ago. Oh man, what was it? What we say a second ago? I was thinking about what he was saying. I lost it.
I
Choo-choo.
talk-
Oh, yeah, here we go. I got it. Sorry. Blacked out. When you're like, if I called someone, I'm like, how your day? Right? Like they'd be like, you don't care. Like, what do you want? You know what I mean? That's like, it's the truth now. Like if you're like, how you been? Like, how's your day? Be like, oh, what do you want? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's just how you feel now when someone initially cares. But I think like everything we're saying only puts a bigger emphasis on how much you can help someone just by like calling them and just like hearing them out. Because it does separate you from everyone else. And like you were saying, like you've really this year have opened up like to how important listening to someone is. And it's
Yeah.
like you can get so much like from someone in not like monetary, like something like that. But you can learn so much. I always say with podcasting, like as a joke, if there was a really successful business guy and you're just asking him, he doesn't want to talk to you. But if you're like, hey, can you come on my podcast and talk? Like he'll do it. It's like the fact that you want people to listen to you just naturally. You want to be heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the whole
Yeah.
ties in with everything we're saying. But it really does show you how just calling someone every now and then and listening is huge. Not
Yeah.
just like it's just doing something really big for someone else. And it's sad that it's so rare now, but it's
Well, here's a challenge to anyone who's
Yeah.
listening today, for real. And thank you, Cole, because this is wonderful. It gave me an idea. Call someone and ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
Because if the world is that desolate, let's try to build a bridge. Let's try to reach out. Let's drop the phone for 5 minutes. Talk about your phone or your social media thing. I don't know, but call somebody. You don't
Yeah.
know where they're at. I try to do this constantly, but if we're not doing that, no wonder people are feeling alone and sad. And call a guy. In fact, guys call a guy and be like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
I know it might not be natural, but we've got to raise these younger guys to know that it's okay.
Yeah.
I think, not even I think, there's one thing that I do very often when it comes to friendship. Now, the thing with family for me is that family, I just always feel is always there.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where it's like, call me if you need me when it comes to family. But with my friendships, I am the one friend who you can always count on. I would text you happy birthday at 12 o'clock on the dot, right? I'm the one friend who would just send you a random text. Hey, how you doing? Hope your day is great. What's been happening? I'm the one friend who will call you or just randomly show up to, in my world, fitness world, I'll show up to a class. That's just the kind of person I am. And I think that brings me to my point. Not I think. I want to stop using that word. I think.
You know.
That
You
I
know.
know.
Mm.
That brings me to my point in it is the things that are communicated to us that becomes our communication.
Yeah.
The one thing that I held on to is how my father
Say that again.
communicated
Say
to
that
me.
again. Say that again. I like that.
The things that are communicated to us is a communication. I don't even remember what I said.
It
Put that
sounded
on the
good.
t-shirt. Yeah.
It did.
It sounded good.
The one thing I remember is how my father communicates
Mm.
love to me.
So you reflect that.
He never gets off the phone without saying, I love you.
Mm.
My father always checks in. My father just calls to just talk. And be it as it may, he wasn't the greatest father in terms of being there,
Yep.
right? He had a mission. He wanted to go out, make sure that we have food on the table kind of thing. And yes, like him and my mom didn't work out and he started a whole different family. But one thing's for sure, he communicated love.
Yeah.
So Luke 6:45 says, what you say flows from what's in your heart.
Yeah.
And for me, I knew I didn't have him in a physical way.
Mm.
Right.
So, I mean, he's still alive, thank God. But I knew how he loved me. I never second guessed that. Not a second. So if I call you a friend, if I say I love you as a friend, no matter who you are, I'm showing up. I'm there. And for the most part, I just want to listen.
Yeah.
I just want to hear. So we have to be careful in who we are allowing to communicate things to us. We
Yeah.
got to figure out the kind of friendship that we're standing in, right? Because one, I don't want a friend that cheats.
Yeah.
I would not call you a friend if you cheat. And if you're a friend out there and you've told me you've cheated, I'm just saying, I might not have called you a friend. I would much prefer to talk through that with you. Because if you could cheat on someone that you slept with, you'll cheat on me. I'm a nobody to you.
Amen.
If you could give your body over to someone and still cheat on them, who am I as a just a friend? There's no value there. So I would never you could consider me a friend all day, but I would not allow myself to let you communicate what love is to me. And if I'm calling you a friend, I'm opening up the opportunity for you to communicate something to me. And if that's what you're communicating, doors are closed. I'm good.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from your father was he was intimate with you.
Yes, in terms of like like
Yeah,
he's a friend.
I love you. It was
Yes.
intimate conversation.
Yes.
I'm a word nerd. So into me, I see. I feel like as men, we need to be more intimate, you know, in speaking in words.
I think we should
Maybe
use a
less
different word.
superficial or
Because-
less on the surface.
Not in a sexual
deeper,
sense
No,
at
deeper.
all.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
But you have to understand
Um,
that you have to understand how we think.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Right?
right.
No matter
Deeper.
what, yes, we do love words, but
Yeah.
some words are very triggering.
Yeah.
And we can't help that.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we talk about intimacy,
Yeah.
we oftentimes correlate that to a sexual standard. So
Yeah.
maybe we could figure out a different word to kind of like
Yeah, I think
Deep's a
deep
good word.
conversation.
Deep conversation.
Absolutely.
deep
Honest.
conversations,
Yeah, deep.
honest
Real.
conversations.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna stick to the word intimate because
Go
I
for it.
speak intimately to my children.
Yeah.
With intent. You know, I want to have the deep conversations. I have a 14-year-old girl right now. And we sit and we talk, and I say, I never, ever want you to feel that you can't talk to your father. You know? So I intentionally pray and speak with her in truth.
Yeah.
And our relationship in the last 8 months has blossomed so much because she no longer fears her earthly father, but we fear our heavenly father together. Daddy's not perfect, you know? I want to model, like your father modeled what a loving father was. I want to model to her what a loving, forgiving father is, so that one day when I walk her down the aisle, the man that is reflected in front of her reminds her of dad.
Oh,
that's
what
you
you
guys have
communicate.
absolutely no idea how important what you just said is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because not all of us had fathers that way. Some
Yeah.
of us had, some people in this world have had truly intimate fathers. Some people, and not in the words that you mean, some people have had fathers who violated their mind in ways that were not okay and
Yeah.
overshared information that was not appropriate. So,
Or not present.
right. Some people have had fathers who just, gave up or didn't show up. You guys can't do that. We need you guys. Like, we need fathers. I don't care what the government is telling you. I don't care what society is telling you. You're needed in this world.
Yeah. I saw a beautiful video actually shared by a friend that the government, I played a big role in working with the company that sold care packages to inmates, letting fathers have their first dance with their daughters, incarcerated men. You know how important that is?
Yeah.
I don't, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say, because I would be lying if I said I don't care what you did. But if you are a non-violent offender and you have a child on the outside, I think we're in a space where they need to open up these lines because these children are really hurting,
Yeah.
with the lack of presence in the home.
We're actually going to be addressing
Yeah.
incarcerated men in one
Yeah.
of the episodes. So
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So it's like
But-
those open lines of communication, of having presence and, sorry guys, intimacy within your family to
Don't
speak
be
in
sorry.
love and to
Stand
speak
10 toes down.
the word. Yeah. Again, into me, I see.
Yeah.
So the reflection that you see for your dad is you are looking into yourself. You are seeing a reflection of the OG Junior.
Yeah.
Cole,
Yeah.
I know you have to step out in just a couple minutes, but here's my question to you, because you're younger than me. You're just a couple years older than my oldest son. And I'm curious what you think of all of this as a young man. What, I hate to ask you like a therapist, but what is it that you think young men really need to hear or really need?
I don't know. I might be a little biased, but I think it's like coming to God, honestly. I
Okay.
think I don't know. I think when you start aligning yourself with God, so much gets figured out for you, and then it's just a domino effect from there. Um, but I think if I were to give like a generalized answer, it'd probably be some like community or fellowship.
Okay.
I think it's really easy to get isolated. And at the same time, though, I really think you need to do it for yourself. You know what I mean? Because
Good point.
in this world, you can't count on other people as much as you'd want to. So it needs to come from within to do it. I tie it back into God. Like if you're aligned with God, you'll get in with the right people. And that definitely, because like all in the Bible, it talks, and you guys talked about it today. You're not supposed to be doing everything alone. You know what I mean? And if you're with God and you have a good support group, it figures a lot of things out. But that answer it kind of, it was pretty
No,
broad,
it
but
doesn't. No, that's really helpful. I think like any answer that we can give that's real and honest is true. And thank you for joining us today. I know that you have a meeting, but we really do appreciate you popping in.
yeah, thank
And
you.
we your insight was just invaluable.
Thanks.
That was good, brother.
I think you have an amazing future ahead of you too, man. You're super talented. We love your space. We love your energy. And
Thank you.
your welcoming heart always.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
Of course.
So I just want to give one last scripture, and then if you want to give the closing thought. But first of all, we will have Liz back next week, and we're really excited to have her
And we're
back. But we
praying
really
for
do
her.
appreciate yes,
Yeah.
Cole. Yes, prayers absolutely. So Colossians 3:8 says, "But now you must put aside all things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips." That's a challenge. That's a challenge because I think that in a world where instant gratification and constant messaging is floating through our minds, we just have these knee-jerk reactions. Boom.
Mm.
And a lot of times it's easier to be angry. It takes a lot more thought to just say, whoa, okay, let's look at the situation a little bit differently. Or let's try to look at that from somebody else's perspective. So in terms of relationships, and everything's a relationship. I mean, you use the word intimacy, so it's interchangeable. Relationships aren't just like what you have with your significant other. You have a relationship with your mother, you have a relationship with your child, you have relationships with friendships. And I think that when we're in a relationship and you're being intentional, you have to really, one thing that I know I'm guilty of not doing sometimes is just listening and trying to understand, maybe seeing through the sarcastic comment that means that they're uncomfortable, trying to understand, research the person. I know that sounds a little bit like crazy, but really you do. In love, you're learning about
day.
somebody.
Every day.
So
That scripture gives responsibility to both ends of the communication, both who is being communicated to and both who is communicating. I have a client who is now growing into his faith, and he has this habit of cursing a lot. And I said to him, I was like, bro, like, God, chill out on the cursing.
Simmer down.
Like,
that's right.
what's going on? He's like, well, that's not in the Bible. And I said, fair. The Bible might not have said that explicitly, but I think there are a lot of scriptures that could allude to the fact that cursing is not a thing. And you saying that, now the Bible is very explicit in that cursing is not. Because the problem with it is that in your mind, you think it's your way of communicating to someone that this is how I express myself. And it might not seem as angry and it might not seem as uneducated. It may be how you express yourself. But I can guarantee you this. The moment you start using profanity, who you're communicating to automatically start to write up a script in their minds about you. That you're someone who I'm not going to want to potentially communicate with if you're angry. Because if in the simplest form, this is how you communicate, what is going to happen when you're angry? You don't know how to express yourself because you're resorting to an extreme sense of communication. So it means that it doesn't take you much to go there. Right. So I'm going to start to become very fearful in how deep I get. Now, people don't think like that, but those are automatic emotions.
Mm.
The moment I hear someone start cursing quickly in a conversation, I won't say it. I might not think it at the front of my mind, but I promise you I won't probably want to go much deep into conversation with
The
them.
defenses are
They're
up.
defensive. They're probably defensive. There's a high potential that they're angry. So it goes back into the conversation of like, we got to be careful with what communicates to us because it then becomes our communication.
True. And then you shut down again.
And then you shut down.
So we came full circle in that conversation.
Full circle.
Well, thank you guys so much. We're going to wrap it up. Z, did you have anything else to say?
I just want to close on the way we speak at our home is the building block of society. And I wrote down my we take today because I've been in prayer and have been challenged this week with my communication at home. So my we take today was a call for all men to reclaim the art of communication by being truth tellers and active listeners and encouragers at home. We don't have to dominate conversation, but direct it to God's truth and kingdom impact. So in Christ, I'm praying and asking my fellows to keep me in prayer and my friends, family, in being a kingdom impactful man and helping to be a better communicator at home first, to encourage the men outside that see me to also be kingdom leaders.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
And always want to tell you guys and affirm you that you are seen, you are loved, you are strong, you are courageous, you are humble, and we are so grateful for your ears and the attention that you are giving us in your time, because time to us is love.
Yeah.
And we're so excited to be taking the stairs.
Yeah.
What's your retake?
My we take is kind of usually similar each week, but I just am going to continue this quest to understand better. Oddly, I'm sure everybody's had moments like these, but my thoughts were on something other than what I have been sort of told I need to be doing. And I felt a little bit far from God this week for a few of the days. And I said, just like, Lord, please help me get back on track because like, I don't like that feeling. And the moment I really started to refocus back on this and what I'm supposed to be doing, the connection came again. So I'm going to continue to try to understand my role in the breakdown of communication or the breakdown of, just the bridges of society, and to understand the other side so that we can repair, because all this chaos, it's just not making for a world that I think people are feeling that they resonate with anymore. And then we have anger and we have angry reactions, and that's just not, I don't think we need to live that way.
Hurt people hurt people.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes good people hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
True.
People just hurt people, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
We're just people.
we're just people. We're just people trying to live in a world amongst other people.
Broken world.
Yeah, bro. My retake is two things. One, it's a tangent to what you were saying in that we see you, we hear you, you're strong, you said something else.
You're valuable.
You're
You're
valuable.
courageous.
I am going to say, in respect to that, I don't see you. I don't hear you. You have no value. You're not strong if you do not communicate. Because the moment you are silent, there is nothing anyone can see.
No, that's true.
And that leads me into my actual we take, which is be careful in who is communicating to you, because it will ultimately become your communication. Christ first. Your mom and your family communicate. Have a friendship of people who bring you closer to Christ, and you will be the best spouse you can possibly be. I am not saying this because I have the answer. I'm saying this because it's biblical truth, and it's something that I'm working on, and I invite you to work on it too.
Amen. Thank you.
Man. Thanks, guys, and we'll
Yep,
see
we'll
you
see you
next
next
week.
See you guys.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.